Shalom everyone. This week we are in Parashat Acharei Mot-Kedoshim, and this is one of those portions that feels intense the moment you open it. It begins with death. It moves into the service of Yom Kippur. It speaks about atonement, forbidden relationships, reverence, honesty, Shabbat, and love your neighbor as yourself. At first glance, it can feel like a long list of heavy topics, but the Zohar reads it as one movement. The question running through the whole thing is this: how do you come close to God without being consumed? And how do you carry that holiness back into ordinary life? That is the whole journey of Acharei Mot-Kedoshim. Acharei Mot means after the death. Right away, the Torah takes us back to the death of the two sons of Aaron, and the Zohar pushes us to ask a deeper question. Why start here? Why begin a teaching about holiness with a memory of brokenness, grief, and fire? Because the Torah is teaching that not every kind of spiritual intensity is holy. Sometimes people think that if something feels powerful, it must be from God. If something feels intense, emotional, or overwhelming, it must be sacred. But the opening of Acharei Mot tells us to slow down. There is a kind of fire that lifts, and there is a kind of fire that burns. There is a closeness that heals, and there is a closeness approached in the wrong way, at the wrong time, with the wrong vessel. The Zohar reads this opening not as random history, but as a warning and a doorway. If you want real holiness, you cannot rush into it casually. You cannot force entry. You cannot make yourself the center. You have to enter by the path God opens. That is why the portion immediately turns to Aaron and the Holy of Holies. The high priest is told that he cannot enter at just any time. The holiest place is not entered whenever the ego feels spiritual. It is entered with awe, order, preparation, washing, offering, and humility. And the Zohar makes this even deeper. It describes the high priest as someone whose mouth, service, and intention unify the holy name. In other words, holiness is not only about location, it is about alignment. The priest is not powerful because he is dramatic. He is powerful because he is aligned. He is not inventing his own way. He is entering through obedience, purification, and precision. That is a word for us today. A lot of people want a spiritual life, but they want it without discipline. They want inspiration without purification. They want intimacy with the divine without surrender. They want the fire, but not the vessel. Acharei Mot says, it does not work like that. If you want to enter the inner chamber, something in you has to become quiet. Something in you has to become clean. Something in you has to stop performing. the inner Holy of Holies is not entered by noise. It is entered by reverence. And I think that is one of the deepest personal questions in this parashah. What in my life is holy, but I have been treating casually? Maybe it is a prayer. Maybe it is speech. Maybe it is Shabbat. Maybe it is your body. Maybe it is your covenant. Maybe it is the way you approach Torah itself. The Zohar is telling us that holiness is real, and because it is real, it cannot be treated as common. Then the portion goes into the Yom Kippur service. And this is where the Zohar opens one of the most beautiful gates in the whole reading. The Torah says, "For on that day he shall atone for you, to cleanse you." And the Zohar reads this as more than forgiveness in a legal sense. It speaks of a flow from above, like living waters from a higher source, washing, softening, and purifying. That matters because a lot of people carry a hidden despair. They believe in God, but deep down they do not believe they can really return. They think maybe they can behave better. Maybe they can manage appearances, but not truly be washed, restored, and received. The Zohar says otherwise. It says that repentance was prepared before the world. Before your failure, the path of return already existed. Before your fall, mercy already existed. Before your confusion, cleansing already existed. That means your return is not an interruption to God's plan. Your return is part of the design. Teshuvah is not just feeling bad. Teshuvah is not self-hatred. Teshuvah is not spiritual drama. Teshuvah is return. It is returning to your place, returning to alignment, returning to truth, returning to the source from which your soul can breathe again. So when Acharei Mot speaks about atonement, the Zohar hears not only judgment, but invitation. Come back honestly, come back fully, come back before you are forced to. Come back while the gate is open. And for many people, this is the week to hear that. Not because they are evil, not because they are hopeless, but because they are tired. Tired of carrying residue. Tired of fragmentation. Tired of being split between what they know and how they actually live. The Zohar's answer is not pretend harder. The answer is return deeper. Now, Acharei Mot also brings us into one of the hardest parts of Torah for modern ears. Boundaries around intimacy, forbidden relationships, and the uncovering of nakedness. But the Zohar sees these laws as part of the architecture of holiness, not as random restrictions. Why? Because intimacy is not small. Desire is not small. The body is not small. These are powerful gates. The modern world usually gives us two bad options. One option is shame the body. The other option is worship appetite. But the Torah does neither. The Torah sanctifies the body through covenant, boundary, timing, and order. And the Zohar goes even further. It treats these intimate laws as spiritually consequential because the deepest energies of life are involved there. This is not about God being offended by embodiment. It is about God guarding the places where human beings are most likely to confuse hunger with union, impulse with love, exposure with intimacy, and intensity with holiness. A person can be very sincere and still be disordered. A person can feel deeply and still be moving in the wrong direction. A person can call something love when it is actually appetite, loneliness, or projection. Acharei Mot says, guard the sanctuary. And notice the language here. The sanctuary is not only the temple. The sanctuary is also the body. The sanctuary is also the home. The sanctuary is also the covenant. The sanctuary is also the inner world where desire either becomes holy or becomes chaotic. So the message is not repression. The message is consecration. The holier the energy, the stronger the boundary has to be. Then comes Kedoshim, and in many ways, this is the answer to the whole first half. After all the warnings, after all the boundaries, after all the language of entering correctly, the Torah says, "You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." And the Zohar says something stunning here. It reads this not only as a command, but also a promise. Because a lot of people hear, "Be holy," and immediately collapse inside. They hear impossibility. They hear pressure. They hear a standard they can never reach. But the Zohar says, one who labors in Torah becomes pure and then becomes holy. First purity, then holiness. First cleansing, then sanctification. First, the vessel is washed, then the light rests within it. That means holiness is not fake performance. It is not religious costume. It is not saying holy words while living an unexamined life. It's not pretending to be above struggle. Holiness is a process of becoming. You shall be holy means stay in the path. Stay in the words of Torah. Stay in the refinement. Stay in the return. Let the divine work on you long enough that what was once foreign becomes natural. So if you feel like you are not there yet, good. The verse is not asking you to lie. It's inviting you to continue. And this is also why Kedoshim is so practical. Look at what follows. Reverence for parents, Shabbat, no idolatry, honest dealings, care for the poor, no stealing, no lying, no gossip, no hatred hidden in the heart, no revenge. Love your neighbor as yourself. Why does the Torah place all of this under the banner of holiness? Because Torah is destroying our fantasy that holiness only happens in mystical moments. Holiness is not only in the Holy of Holies. Holiness is also in your mouth. Holiness is also in your calendar. Holiness is also in your money, in your relationships, in what you do with another person's dignity. The inner and the outer are not separate worlds. If you say you want the secret things of God, but you wound people with your speech, something is broken. If you want mystical depth, but you are dishonest in business, something is broken. If you want to enter the sanctuary, but you make your home unclean with contempt, manipulation, or cruelty, something is broken. Kedoshim brings holiness down to earth. It's easy to be attracted to the dramatic side of spirituality. Hidden wisdom, secret names, deep teachings, lofty language. But Kedoshim says, fine, now show me your ethics. Show me your restraint. Show me your honesty. Show me your Shabbat. Show me your love for the person in front of you. That is where holiness becomes real. The Zohar on Kedoshim also links sanctification below with blessing above. In plain language, when a person sanctifies life down here, something opens above. When we align below, we draw down what is above. Holiness is not private. It affects atmosphere. It affects the soul. It affects the home. It affects what kind of presence rests around a person. That means your choices matter more than you think. The way you speak in your house matters. The way you carry your eyes matters. The way you deal with anger matters. The way you keep covenant matters. The way you study Torah matters. The way you honor father and mother matters. The way you love your neighbor matters. Nothing is small if holiness is the issue. And there is another beautiful detail in the Zohar on Kedoshim. It says Torah purifies and then makes a person holy. I love that order because it tells the truth about how transformation usually works. Most people do not become radiant overnight. Most people are purified layer by layer. A little more truth, a little more reverence, a little less self-deception, a little less inner noise, a little more capacity to remain with God without running. That is real growth. And because this week falls in the days of the Omer, the timing fits perfectly. The Omer is all about refinement, counting, measuring, becoming ready. You do not jump from Egypt to Sinai in 1 second. You walk, you count, you refine, you become able to receive. That is Acharei Mot-Kedoshim in one sentence. Do not rush into the holy carelessly, and do not leave the holy trapped in the sanctuary. Enter rightly, then live rightly. So, what do we do with this practically this week? Let me give you a few simple ways to walk this parashah. First, choose one place in your life that you know is holy and stop treating it as casual. Maybe your prayer time has become rushed. Maybe your speech has become too loose. Maybe your home has lost its sense of sanctity. Maybe your body has been treated like a tool instead of a vessel. Choose one area and restore reverence. Second, do one act of teshuvah that is concrete, not vague guilt, not spiritual sadness, something real. Make the call, tell the truth, end the habit, ask forgiveness, return the thing, close the door you should have closed a long time ago. Let your repentance take form. Third, add one act of holiness to ordinary life. Light Shabbat candles with more intention. Pause before speaking when angry. Give charity quietly. Refuse gossip. Be honest. Study one passage of Torah slowly and reverently. Bless someone instead of criticizing them. Do something that makes holiness tangible. Fourth, remember that you shall be holy is not only pressure, it is promise. Do not let the unfinished state of your soul become an excuse for despair. Stay in the process. Purity first, holiness after, step by step, choice by choice. And finally, remember the order of these two portions. Acharei Mot comes first, then Kedoshim. First, we learn that closeness without order is dangerous. Then we learn that holiness is meant to fill life. First, we learn that we cannot enter however we want. Then we learn that God still wants us near. First, we are humbled, then we are invited. That is the mercy of this parashah. It does not flatter us. It does not indulge us. But it does invite us. It says, there is a way back. There is a way in. There is a way to live differently. There is a way to carry holiness, not as fantasy, but as form. So this week, don't chase spiritual excitement. Seek holy alignment. Do not ask only, what powerful thing can I feel? Ask, what in me needs to become clean enough to carry the presence well? Do not ask only, how can I enter the holy? Ask also, how can I keep my speech, my body, my home, my money, my relationships, and my thoughts worthy of what I say I seek? That's the Zoharic pulse of Acharei Mot-Kedoshim. The true holy fire does not destroy you. It orders you purifies you, softens you, disciplines you, returns you. And then slowly, steadily, it makes you holy. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Shalom.